12 noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West.
And this is Reprint.
This isn't breaking headlines. This is a second look with context added for perspective.
This is Reprint, edited after the headlines.
All right, happy Wednesday, and good morning to the West Coast. Of course, good afternoon to the East Coast. This is the Reprint, and I am Crystal Jordan Jennings.
I'm Victor Flavius. How y'all doing today? Good morning. Good afternoon, East Coast.
Good afternoon. Oh my goodness, it is Wednesday, and this week seems like it feels like it should be Friday to me for some reason.
Yeah, it's just, the weather's been crazy outside. Well, for you guys, for me, it's been nice, but you know, it's been a week. It's been a stressful week, I must say. Looking at all the news and social media.
Oh my gosh.
Put down, pick up, put down, pick up, put down. Oh my God, yeah. I know, right?
I actually had to take a break yesterday. It was just so much, on social media, and I just said, I'm going to take a break because it just was a lot of negativity. It just senseless death, and then people arguing over that. I just said I took a mental health break. But you know what? I did something yesterday that we talk about being seasoned. We're seasoned, right?
Yes.
We're empty nesters and seasoned. And I've been putting something off. It's the first month of the year. I still kind of feel like it's, we're still getting used to 2026, even though it's coming with a bang. And so I actually had been planning to sit down and work on a trust and will for myself. And that's, I will admit, I knew I needed to do that. I have life insurance, and I've done those uncomfortable conversations for that process. But it did, just not something that you're looking forward to doing, right? But I told myself, after having a very big birthday this past year, I needed to make sure that I, do the responsible thing and sit down and have that conversation with myself first, because, I'm healthy. Everything is, is great now. But I wanted to do the responsible thing so that my children and my husband, if anything were to happen, God forbid, there's not additional stress added on to that by them having to figure things out. So, I did. I sat down, and actually it's a little, it definitely kind of snaps you into a process of thinking about just reality. But I got it done. I told my kids, I've been, told my husband I needed to, kind of go over everything with them. But now that I did it, I think it gave me great perspective just of, again, life is precious. And doing that when you're in a good space, even though it may be uncomfortable, I think is very necessary. So I want to thank the people over at Trust Will for making it. They have a system that makes it a lot easier. It's very user friendly, and you can, I didn't ask questions, but it's a very user friendly process. But it also kind of was like, I feel like it was kind of like a therapy session for myself. So I definitely would encourage all of the listeners and anyone hearing this to, have, just spend some time thinking when you're ready, maybe visit Trust and Will, because it's presented in a way that is, it allows you to think about things that, trust me, you definitely would not be thinking about, if the circumstances were different.
Yeah, wills are very important to have. Everyone should go out and get a will. I mean, I don't think it's expensive, but I think it's something that you need to do in your family, like opening a bank account. At some point when you get your life together, you should go see someone about doing your family will. It's important, especially for your children. If you have children or loved ones, it's important because at the end of it, you don't want to be dealing with a whole bunch of mess, and you want everyone to remember you in a good space, a good place. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's your children, and it's not even. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is people think if they don't have this large sum of money, they think that they don't need to, to do that. And that's not true. There's a lot of things that you don't think about. It has nothing to do with how much you have to leave. Some of it is how do you want, what do you want your service to look like? What are
Yeah.
important things to you that you want people to know? So it's definitely, I just think, because I had that misconception. I was like, when I was younger, I was like, well, I don't have like, millions of dollars to leave my children. But it's not, that's not the case. I think that misconception keeps us from talking to financial planners to, just from being prepared, even life insurance, even if you don't have the ability to leave millions and millions of dollars, you still can do what you can. And it's not really about that. I think it keeps a lot of us in a state where we are afraid to look, because you have a misconception about it. So definitely life insurance is necessary for everyone. But this trust and will is also necessary. And like I said, it's not even so much about how much you can leave, but maybe how you like things, so that they can have your wishes when you were in a great state of mind, to make sure that they're carried out. So just something that's a good time to do at the beginning of the year,
Yeah, it is important.
Yeah. Oh, so like I said, I took a break yesterday.
I did too.
Gosh. But I know we were texting. I was like, we actually thought about getting on yesterday. Yeah. We were like, today we need to really, spend some time talking about things, because there's a lot happening politically, and it does not benefit us as a community not to be educated and not to know what's going on. Yeah. Even if you don't think it's impacting you directly, I promise some of what is happening, first of all, if it's not impacting you directly today, it definitely could be setting up for it to be. And I think we just all need to be informed. And I think it's important for us to, that's why we do the reprint. So we have a chance to really talk about it from the African-American perspective. And it's just like, just have a conversation about what's going on. We encourage you all to always listen to this broadcast, and then also subscribe, so that you, there's a lot more context, on the website from some of the things that we talk about.
Yeah, I think it's important to be informed, especially in today's time with the internet and AI, because they're saying that in 5 years you won't be able to tell an AI video from a real video, and fact checking is going to be something that's going to be hard to do. So the more information you get, the more news you get, and you're able to discern what is real, what's not real. Even small portions of news and context is very important, because you'll see news that will tell you the whole story, and then you'll miss out a small part, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay, this is what happened." But if you look at the stories from different media and independent journalists, and you fact check and you do your research historically, and then you match it with what's going on today, you'll be able to make the right decisions for your family and for yourself. So yeah, it's important. This is very important.
It is very important, and I think I agree with what you said about AI. I mean, I think over the last few years, specifically, we see things shared on social media that are not true, but they're wrapped in a way that does feel truthful. I see we've got people here that are here in the live audience. So first of all, thank you guys all for tuning in with us here. I see Tamasha in 1 in a Million says, given the recent political shift that have been occurring and what I know is coming, I'm giving some serious thought about moving to Atlanta. Texas, I feel, may get locked down, or ICE going to provoke a war. It's interesting, because speaking of those things, yesterday there were people posting that ICE was coming to Atlanta, and a lot of it, I think, I think in time it may be a good idea to have a therapist come and talk with us one morning. But sometimes things are shared in an effort to create fear. And when people now, we live in a social media world where whatever gets the most clicks and likes is what, people are, it could be benefiting their site. So lots of times people are posting things that are going to invoke fear, just so that they do get that attention. So I said, be very careful. Do not operate in fear, because when you operate in fear, it's hard to be able to have your discerning eye on. So I got this text message that looked like a meme, and it was saying that ICE was headed for Atlanta. And it, if you open that up and you see everything that's happening, it can automatically make you panic. But I think taking a moment, making sure that you fact check, and then just continue listening, but I think it's important to remind us not to, if you feel yourself becoming emotional, that's not the best time to look at things, because you could be susceptible to things that are not true, or the perspective is created in a way that's going to incite, panic. And that is not good. Even if they are true, we don't need to panic. So just be careful, Tamasha, in thinking that, because I heard like people were sending this yesterday. I got it from at least 4 people that are part of my media circle. And I'm like, let me not panic. Let me just, this, and then also see, because what happens is we get inundated with so much information that sometimes it's overwhelming, especially when you see images like some of the images that we've been seeing, lately. So
I want to add something to what you're saying. So what you just said was true, because that happened to me a few months ago, like a month ago, when ICE came to LA. I don't live in LA. I live outside of LA. I live in Orange County. And as a matter of fact, it was months ago when the BET Awards was here in LA. I went to the BET Awards. We were covering the BET Awards. And I remember being around that area, and it was like a regular day, nothing happening. I get home, I'm looking at the news, and it's like, oh, ICE was all over the area. And I'm getting phone calls from my brother in Georgia saying, hey, what's going on in LA? Be careful. And I'm like, there's nothing going on. I was downtown. There was no riots. Maybe it was a street that was happening on. And a lot of times that happens where it'll be in one particular area, but they say Atlanta, and Atlanta is a big place. We know that. It could be one street in Atlanta that ICE was at. I'm not saying that they're wrong for sending the information out. I'm saying you have to stop, like you said, and look at the information and discern whether this applies to you right now or not, and how to apply it to yourself. Because fear will make you go out and buy all the stuff you need and buy a plane ticket, and I got to leave now. And so yeah.
I have another example of that. When the government shut down, a couple of months ago, the government was shut down, and the employees for the airlines were leaving because they weren't being paid. And so there was all this fear, and people were saying, oh, the flights are being canceled, and there's no, all this. And so I had to go to Detroit. And at first I was really, really nervous, because I was like, oh, I don't want to fly when all this is going on. People were saying, Crystal, you should just cancel your flight. And it was for work. So someone had paid to fly me out there. But I was filled with a lot of anxiety. I get to Hartsfield-Jackson, which is the largest airport in the country. So I'm seeing people are putting up videos of, the airline being filled with people, the lines being long. And I expected to see that when I got there. When I got there, the airport did not at all look like the images that were being shared on social media.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I made a post, and I was just showing people, like, this is not true. I'm here. I actually went straight through because probably there were a lot of people that did cancel their flights because they were afraid. But people were actually posting, and this is posting false video of the airport being crowded. I got there and I'm like, this is not what is happening at the airport today. So I think that we have to be very, very, it's unfortunate that we have to be that way, but you have to be very careful what you digest. And then you also have to kind of run it through your own system of, common sense and that kind of thing. But it's hard to do that when you're in a panic. And so that I saw other people doing that as well, because the airport was not, my flight was not delayed. Even on the way back, I think we had something, maybe a 30-minute delay, but people were saying, oh, you're not going to get out of there. People are there. And they were just taking information at verbatim. The information doesn't scare me as much as the video. When you look at and you see on some of these trusted sites video that is false, it's just, it's sad that people are, it's like we're playing on our own weakness I don't know. It's strange, but just be careful. Be careful and don't take everything at face value. Speaking of that, let's get on into today's topics. Like I said, we know that a lot of this decided to kind of dedicate this broadcast to what is going on in our world politically, with a lot of things happening. We're going to start with the National Park Service. They have dismantled and removed slavery exhibits at the President's House, the historical site in Philadelphia, that told the stories of 9 people enslaved by George Washington. The action followed a Trump administration directive to review and remove displays deemed to disparage U.S. history. Philadelphia is now suing the federal government, and city leaders plan a public hearing as critics call the move an erasure of essential history. Hold on, and I think we have.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. They're trying to whitewash and remove our history from this country. President Trump is saying that he's trying to remove anything that makes America look bad or that doesn't fit with American history. And I'm like, Black American history is American history. You can't remove one thing and keep the other thing. You know?
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. They take. Why would you take that one thing down? You know that, and Trump is also saying that he is he is George Washington, the new George Washington. He's gonna, change America and make America great again. So by him, removing these 9 enslaved people that were under George Washington at the time, it's just like rewriting history. I think that's pretty bad. We should know what they're doing in the school books. They're taking stuff out because the administration, every year, the school books change in different counties, different cities, different towns. And if you have kids, look at what they're looking at. Educate them yourself, first of all, don't and learn it all there. When they come home, here's some extra books. Here's some stuff about our history you need to know, because the school's not going to teach them that stuff.
It's crazy to me that they're doing this, because it's like you can't, just because you take it down doesn't mean it didn't happen. And I think that the powers that be, this Trump administration wants to present this history of America like there's nothing, in it that would be wrong towards African Americans. Specifically, they're trying to paint this narrative of white America that is just not true. But let's play this clip really quickly and then talk a little bit more about this. Here we go.
The panels taken down this week in Philadelphia memorialized 9 enslaved people who lived in what was once the executive mansion for President George Washington.
It made me feel sick. We're proud of our history. Part of that pride is acknowledging negative aspects.
Last spring, President Trump ordered national parks to ensure displays did not contain content that, quote, inappropriately disparage Americans. Philadelphia officials are now suing the federal government, calling the move unacceptable.
This is another attempt of President Trump trying to whitewash American history. As an African American, I recognize that African American history is American history.
What would you say to fellow Americans who think that having an exhibit like this is divisive?
It's not divisive, it's our history.
It's, to his point, it's not divisive, it's just truth. Truth is truth. And that's just, it's hard to watch and it's hard to see, but I think, like we said, this is important for us to see this stuff and to understand what is going on. That photo right there, it says the dirty business of slavery, slave trades in the Americas, constitutional compromise, and slave economy. This is truth. This is not anything done, a campaign to make Americans look bad. This is just the truth.
Yeah,
this is just the truth. And to take that truth away leaves us with a very unbalanced, version of how we got where we are. It's crazy because for lack of better words, Victor, I just feel like this administration continues consistently doing things that are, it's not disguised. It's to me, it's racism and it's not disguised, right? So at first you can say, oh, but these are very specific things that are being done to erase what little bit of progress, that we've had. And so when you take this away, I think people know, but really we're aware of what we see every day. Right. So
Yeah.
Even those of us that know, I mean, you really are aware with what's in front of your face every day. So this is not a subtle move to really change the dynamics of our country and also put minorities at higher risk because you're taking away the proof that they were mistreated, mishandled, and some of the problems that our community deals with are direct relations to that. Especially when you look at when some of these things happen. I saw people were talking about this online on several sites, and a friend of mine, I told you I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, born in Ohio, but grew up in Tulsa. And a guy that I went to high school with had someone come on his page and say, well, this, you all shouldn't be fighting for this because you have not been a slave and no one in your family was a slave. So why are you upset about this? And so my classmate responded and he was like, well, first of all, you don't know what you're talking about because I can go back in my lineage with my great grandmother that actually, were on a plantation. This is not centuries ago that people in our families were still dealing with this.
Right.
So I think it's just, it's a very bold, disrespectful move, but it's happening across the board. And it's almost like so many things are happening at once, we get distracted. And if you get focused over here, fighting here, you don't realize something else that is happening on the other side.
Yeah, we get distracted by all the news going on. Entertainment, number one thing that keeps us distracted. Social media keeps us distracted. And then just the day-to-day life trying to survive keeps us distracted with everything else going on. So like you said, while they're doing this on this side, we're fighting it on this side. We're trying to, live our life on this side. There's so many different angles of it. But it's funny to me how people, white America, I would say, not people, white America, don't stop and think, how did people of color get in this country, first of all? Indigenous people have been here, but the other people that came, how did we get here? We didn't just show up because, hey, we wanted to go someplace new. No, we were sent or brought here, enforced, enslaved here, and also the Caribbean islands, because the Americas is not just North America, it's North, South America, Central America. Places like Brazil have some of the largest populations of Africans. The Caribbean islands all have, so, and there's a very large slave trade route that we can look at on maps that show you from Africa to America to the Caribbean and back. And what they would do is they would send slaves to the Caribbean island, and then they would switch them up and bring them to North Carolina or the Carolinas, and they'll rotate them back and forth. And whenever they were given problems in one place, they would pack them up, ship them to a different place. The same way how to deal with plantations. So the history is there of what happened to enslaved people. Now, they can erase as much as they want to, which they're trying to, but it's our history. And we ask for reparations. They don't want to give us that. They fight for that. And just the signs that we have up, the textbooks that we have up, the reminders that we have up, they're like, no, take those down. Those are plaguing our country. How did you get your wealth?
Mm-hmm. That part.
Wall Street was where they auction off slaves. That's where Wall Street started from. If you go to the history, that's where it started. Every era, Boston, every place that had ports, they had going on. So all the major institutions, J.P. Morgan Chase, you name all the banks that went up, they all had slave ships. They all owned slaves. All the presidents that we know back in that time, Washington, Adams, they all had slaves. And so you cannot remove that from it because it's part of history. All of the, a lot of the things we have today, the ironing board, the light switch, the whatever you call it, all the stuff that works that we have, slaves invented most of those because they were the ones working.
Right.
If I had a problem with something, I need to fix it, right? So I'll do it. And then the reason why those patents went to whites because the slaves were owned by whites. So slaves can't own a patent because they don't have control of that. So a lot of the patents that we have in this country came from people who were working and make things because they need to make their jobs easier and better. And so there you go. And so the 1619 book that was written by New York Times best-selling author. Forget her name. I'm gonna look it up later. But in that book, she has a section where the sugar that was produced in Europe, whenever they had an issue with the amount of sugar being made, the slaves were the ones that felt it. They got punished for it. At the time, slaves were more valuable than property. So you could go to the bank and get a loan based upon how many slaves you had. So it's crazy. It's crazy. The history is crazy.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, I grew up in a place where they had gone through the Tulsa race riots, right?
Yeah.
But when I got we learned, and I remember being, when I was in elementary school and middle school, I was usually one of only a few blacks. Wasn't until I got to middle school, I went to a charter school that was mixed. But when you're in elementary school and you're a kid and you're learning about this, as the only black kid in there, it was uncomfortable sometimes. But what I do know is that even the history that we know, it was watered down so much. So the information that is in the museums and I guess in some, and the textbooks, that is a watered down version of what took place. When I got to college and I was able to study, I did a lot of studying in African American history and literature, and some of the things that you learned that were done to slaves were just beyond inhumane. There have been movies that have gone deeper into it, but for the most part, the information that we've been taught has been extremely watered down. So the fact that you would want to totally take this away when you're not, it's not even touching on some of the brutality of buck breaking and just all the continuous ways of torture that were exacted upon slaves that were here. So I don't know. I think it is our responsibility to teach our children and to make our children, first of all, understand their history and have pride in it, because I think a lot of that was taken. That's part of the problem. I believe, is that there wasn't a sense of pride because you are seeing yourself through your oppressor's lens, right? But I think it's really important for families, not just for parents to teach their children, but that to be a part of what your families do. It needs to become a part of our rituals, the things that we did years ago, as far as like going to Big Mama's house and telling stories and things like we have to do that, because otherwise our children are going to lose even more of their identity. And that's to me what the biggest thing is. They're going to lose their identity, and they're not, and we're not going to have a leg to stand on. I think this is really a time where our community is going to have to stand up and not rely on others to take care of us, as far as creating opportunity for wealth, making sure that we patronize our own businesses, and we not just patronize, but prioritize. We cannot just patronize. We need to prioritize Black businesses and Black business owners, because otherwise we're going to end up where we're in America, and we are going to not recognize ourselves even more than it is now. And I'm not even talking about it. This could happen after our lifetimes, but if that information is not passed down, you cannot have a good sense of self unless you really know where you came from. It's very difficult to feel pride and feel connection if you don't know where you came from. And that's in essence what is happening. I know we have to keep moving forward, but that's such a huge thing.
No, it just isn't important what you're sharing, that we have to support each other. As small a business as we are, we know a lot of times we complain about Black owned businesses. Oh, customer service was bad, or this or that. But we don't think about the fact of how businesses are ran and what it takes to run a business. A lot of times we have small mom and pop businesses that we are trying to get off the ground, and we don't have the type of support. First of all, we don't have the type of financial support to run it the way how large corporations run it. But large corporations don't even do it the way how small businesses do it. They do it on a bigger scale because they have the resources to do it that way, and it's all made up a certain way. But that doesn't mean we can't patronize our businesses for our community. We should. We should support. We should be supporting each other more. I also made it a thing this year where I was like, you know what? I think this year I'm going to go through my clothes and my stuff, and I'm going to get rid of some regular clothes, and I'm going to buy more of our community clothes and support businesses that, you know, as much as I can. Everything I buy, I'm trying to buy black. It might not be for everything, but the more we can, we should. Yeah, we should. Yeah.
And it's something. It's, you know, one person does it, and you talk about it. When you talk, what I've learned is that, you know, like I was talking a little bit earlier about, you know, your children and our legacy. I know that what was important to me as an adult when I became an adult, you know, went to college, was what was important to my mom and what was important, what I was taught. You know, children are a direct reflection of the information that you put in them. So I think we have to remember that if your children are constantly hearing how important it is to prioritize people that look like them, then that's what they will do, you know? And so I think that if nothing else, I believe in that old African proverb, physician, heal thyself. I think that it is our responsibility to make sure that we are teaching our children that they do not need to wait for someone else, that they have everything that is in them is a part of their birthright that was passed down through their DNA, and they have the ability to do whatever they want. I don't think I think we have to stop relying and allowing others to teach, to promote, and we need to take that ourselves. No one is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And I think if this administration is doing anything, we can't operate in fear, but we need to operate in unity, you know. And I think the more we say that, the more I believe people will start to do it. I think we have to pattern it ourselves. It's not about making others feel bad or being excluding others, but you know, I was taught you take care of this family first. You always look out for your brother. And I grew up with just two of us, me and my brother. And my mom made sure that I knew you're out with other people. You make sure your brother he's okay.
Yeah.
And I think we have to teach that, because my brother is not my only brother. You are my brother. We are here, and we are being, what is happening is against us as a community. So we have to respond in like manner. So and we got a lot to talk about. So I know we got to move forward. A little bit of a lighter note. I don't know if it is, but it definitely is. I know that there are a lot of people excited. My husband is a huge football fan. In fact, in our home, during football season, we do not go on dates very often because we have to date around football. But we are finally to the point where we know that the Super Bowl this year is going to be the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. A lot of people are excited about that. The Atlanta Falcons are nowhere in that conversation, but I know we'll still be doing some Super Bowl activities here. And Bad Bunny is going to be the halftime performer. You know what? I'll be honest. I'm not very familiar. I may have heard a song. I don't know. I know I've heard that name a lot, but I don't know a song myself. I personally would have rather Chris Brown done the halftime show.
We all would, right?
Yes. But I also feel like, you know, that's our personal feeling. But we support support artists of all backgrounds and everything. But what is sad about this, and why this is unfortunately a part of this ICE conversation today, is that there are reports that ICE is going to be at the Super Bowl. And also the Bad Bunny is a Hispanic artist and has had tremendous success. And what I do know from working in the music industry is that Hispanic artist is huge. Yeah. And so I we want to celebrate and support, but we also want to be aware that this could potentially happen. ICE agents will conduct enforcement operations at Super Bowl and this year, and I think it's February 8th. This is really sad, and it's because they know that artist has a lot of Hispanic fans, And so they are specifically targeting this. And I don't know if this is propaganda, but the way things have been moving, I would not doubt it. I would not doubt it. I also know that President Trump has said some disparaging things, that he was disappointed in the choice for the Super Bowl performance as well. So with him making those statements, that would make me believe that they are definitely going to attempt to make something that Americans have enjoyed for years uncomfortable and a tragedy. Any thoughts on this, Victor?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough because football is the quote unquote great American sport. Sport baseball is, but football has become that.
Yeah.
In most towns across America, especially in the South, everything shuts down on Sunday. And all the guys are at home, Monday Night Football, and everything shuts down. There's been a whole thing about that. So I don't know for sure why the Super Bowl decided to go with Bad Bunny. He's a Hispanic Puerto Rican, Puerto Rico, which is a American territory. He's a Hispanic person, and he's will be performing. And I don't know why they decided to go with him.
Well, he's very popular. I do know that.
No. I know that, but I know, and I know they picked stuff before, like the year before they picked stuff before this ice stuff started happening. So maybe that was part of the thing, but it just so happened it coincides with what's going on now.
Yeah.
It's weird because being that he's Latino, there'll be a lot of people attending the event that are Hispanic. Right, because they want to support. This is their first time. Well, Jennifer Lopez was, but this is their first time. Well, actually, Mark Anthony. This is their third time. I would say, well, Jennifer Lopez, Mark Anthony.
Jennifer Lopez, think that, and no disrespect to her, but I do think Bad Bunny is more connected to the culture.
Oh yeah, he is. But he's also a guy too, so girls will love that more. But I think that with him performing, there'll be more Hispanic people at the Super Bowl. And so this is like a playground for them to just show up and pick people up, So I don't like it because it takes away the joy of the whole event. It disrupts the one time America has to relax and enjoy, a day,
Yeah, just something that makes it that feels a little bit normal. So that the game is scheduled for February 8th. At Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Now, I will say this: California is a very democratic state.
That is. I like that.
I am assuming that, and I also know one thing I will say about California is that they are very vocal, and in protesting and supporting. There are a lot of people from California that came here to Georgia when Stacey Abrams was running, lots of support. I mean, it's a very, very, liberal state. So I am certain that there are probably going to be groups and organizations attempting to offset the confusion that ICE agents possibly be trying to create.
Yeah, I live here, and I was reading an article just this morning where it was saying how California has the fourth largest GDP in the world. So they're past Japan. If California was a country, they'll be their own. Their GDP is like a country by itself. And the reason why is 30% of that is because of Hispanic population. They grew it by that much to make it. California is a big state. There's a lot of proud Hispanic people who live here from different countries and Mexico, and the food's great. The people are great. It's just a good place to be. And the pride is here too. People are prideful about where they're from, neighborhoods and counties and whatnot. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens Super Bowl Sunday.
I really, I just pray that there are no tragedies, because what's happening, what we've seen happening is peaceful protests turned into tragedy scenes, and so I really hope that we can get
well hold on a second. The two deaths that we've seen weren't protesting anything. Weren't peaceful. There were peaceful protests, but there wasn't a protest happening. The lady that got killed in a car, it happened to be ICE on that particular street, and the guy who got shot last weekend, Alex, it wasn't a protest going on. He was just outside, and the ICE was in the neighborhood, and he just happened to be directing traffic, and was helping a woman that. So it wasn't a protest. Those two instances weren't at protests. That's the crazy part about it. But see, if you don't know the news, you'll think it was a protest going on. No.
Right, you see everything happening, and it looks it just So that's good information. But that almost makes me a little bit more concerned because of the fact that if we know that people probably will be protesting ICE at the Super Bowl if they're planning to come, and we just want to make sure that we know as much information as possible. We'll definitely be keeping up with that, and all of us, watching the news and trying to get as much information as possible so people can stay safe, and they won't use that as an opportunity to oppress and destroy. So moving on, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is facing growing calls for impeachment after 2 U.S. citizens were killed during federal immigration operations in Minneapolis. Lawmakers say DHS misled the public about the shootings, especially after video contradicted claims that the victims posed a threat. While impeachment is unlikely to pass, the backlash is fueling protests, funding fights, and renewed scrutiny of ICE and the Border Patrol tactics. Here we go again. I know we have, hold on. You guys have to bear with me. I'm trying to make sure that I get the right photos up here.
Yeah, this is crazy. She needs to go. She really needs to. They have been lying to the American people, to us, a lot. They use the narrative that people are domestic terrorists. First of all, the conversation is right now, what a lot of people are saying, last year or year before last, Kyle Rittenhouse, the kid with the 16-year-old kid with the AK rifle that ran around and shot at people during protests while they were peacefully protesting. They were saying that, first of all, this kid he was 16, he was underage. He was carrying illegal firearms. It wasn't even his firearms. And, and nothing happened to him. He had a GoFundMe set up where they got him out of prison. He had money and all this other stuff. But then you have a person, Alex, who was 37 years old, an ICU veteran care worker, and he gets killed. And he was legally licensed to carry firearms in Minnesolis. And so the narrative that they're speaking that, guns are not a problem. All of a sudden, it's a problem to have a gun. I can't carry a gun because, I'm disruptive and I'm being a terrorist, I'm domestic terrorist, and that's what they're doing. So she needs to go because she's been spewing this lie from day one. She has been saying this, she's been working for Trump. So they've been telling you about domestic terrorism. They're calling everyone, if you're interrupting it, you shouldn't be doing this. And Megyn Kelly got on her platform and saying, you heard about that, right?
I saw that yesterday. I was like, I'm not going to let this woman. She's not, because it was disgusting the way she was speaking about. I don't care what side you're on, what party you're a part of. When a life has been taken, that is not anything that should be. She was just vulgar. I'm not even going to give it. But she was what caused me to have to get off yesterday.
She was like, stay but at home. You shouldn't be going out and protesting. First of all, it wasn't a protest.
I don't feel sorry for him at all. That wouldn't happen to me. Just disgusting. Yeah. So
hold on. Tammy Bowles said the NRA has come to the victims' defense. Yes, they did, because it's messing up their money. It comes down to money. Less guns and bullets being sold, it's less money for them in their pockets. They don't care about the person that got killed. They don't care about nothing. All they care about, the bottom line was the dollar, because America has a gun problem. Say it loud. They have a gun. Other countries, when they had a mass shooting that happened in Australia, they put an end to that once and for all. It never happened again since. But here, no, they keep ignoring it, and here again, and they want you to forget what happened in Minneapolis, in Minnesota.
And they're just rewriting. They're just rewriting things and basically with no point of cause, because the video evidence contradicts what they're saying. People, I mean, it's like we could see it. That's the problem. Cell phones can capture things, and when you see it, there should be no. What are we talking about? You're trying to tell me something happened that we can see did not happen. And I think the bigger issue here is unchecked federal power and the use of force. I think unchecked federal power is a problem. I don't know if Democrats are threatening to block DHS funding, but I don't know if they will be able to do that. I do not know. I guess we just have to keep watching this. But at the point where the evidence, the video evidence is contradicting what and I even saw President Trump saying he was going to do an investigation, but it's obvious that he is
his money.
Full support of ICE. So yes, in that same vein of conversation, during a town hall in Minneapolis, Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar was sprayed with an unknown substance by a man in the audience and immediately tackled by security. We're going to play a video right here and then talk a little bit about this.
And DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know.
Oh my God, he sprayed something on her.
I need a napkin to know nothing. No, we'll go. No, we will continue.
No. Ilhan, you need to go get checked. No,
we will continue. These fucking assholes are not going to get away with it.
You need to go get checked. No, you don't know what That's whatever it is smells so bad. She needs to go get checked. I don't know
that's
what that
That's
was.
what they want. Please don't let them know.
It's not about him, Ilhan. Ilhan, it's not about him. It's
Unbelievable that he was sitting so close. And I mean, I guess because you don't know who's going to do something like that. The man was tackled to the ground and arrested on the spot. But I smiled because she was still trying to go on. She's not even. You gotta appreciate how dedicated she is to helping because she wasn't even concerned about herself. And people are like, "Look, we don't know what that was. You need to go." And she didn't want to stop the town hall meeting, but obviously they needed to make sure that she was safe. They called in forensic teams to check her and everything. But this happened when she at a town hall meeting where she was criticizing ICE and calling for Kristi Noem to resign.
Yeah, this is Donald Trump has been pushing the narrative that Somalian community and her are disruptive and bad for the economy, and they're losing millions of dollars, and they should be deported, and they're awful people, and they should go back to their bad countries, for lack of a better word. And this is not her first time she's faced this type of issues with somebody spraying something on her, but it just shows you where American people are, white American people are, because you wouldn't see this happen to a white American town hall person. They don't get sprayed or nothing, and so I just feel like the disrespect, first of all, she's a woman. Mm-hmm. And second of all, she is talking to her constituents, and here comes this guy. Of course, he's mentally ill, I would assume, and he probably has some type of, I don't know. He said it was some bad smelling odor that was sprayed on her. It could have been urine. Who knows?
Well, you can look at that. It looks like he has like a
syringe.
A syringe where he squirted something out. We don't know what it was, but to me, that's the problem. Like, and I feel like the administration has done a good job of inciting these people that have mental illnesses or people that feel that are emotionally driven. That a lot of the things are specifically buzzwords and targeting to where they feel they are incited to react and react in that way. And it's crazy because the commander in chief of the country has a mandate to. I mean, we all are so far from that. We see our president flipping people off, giving people the finger.
Swearing on national television. Like, what? Who does that? Barack never did that.
So it causes, not even just Barack, no president has done
Nobody,
that.
yeah.
No one has done that.
No class.
There is no precedent, no order. So when you have these people that are in every community, there are always people that are not well. But when they are fed all this information to go up and fight, this is the type of things that I feel like this administration has to be accountable for, because they are purposefully inciting, just like January 6th. Like, it's that type of energy that is constantly put out there. But I think, again, we have to be very aware of this and make sure that we protect ourselves.
Can you imagine we have 3 more years of this?
I cannot.
Oh, I don't even know if it's going to be that long, but yeah, it's oh, man, it's so bad. Yeah. I hope she went to the emergency room.
So Omar was unharmed, and she did continue the town hall. She was very determined to continue. And she emphasized that she would not be intimidated. But I do want to recognize this did draw bipartisan condemnation. There are some Republican leaders that are coming to the aid and saying that this is not what they want. And I think that's important. I mean, the only solution that is possible for us is going to have to be bipartisan. We're going to have to find ways to work together. So I do appreciate the fact that there are some Republicans that are standing up and saying they're not in agreement with the things that are being, pushed, by some of the administration's leaders.
Agreed.
Yeah. So now we have ICE in Italy.
Crazy.
I know, it just keeps going. Growing political backlash in Italy after reports that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents will be part of the security team for the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics. Italian leaders, including Milan's mayor, have called an agency unwelcome and criticized its controversial reputation following recent fatal shootings in the U.S. Italian authorities insist the agents will only provide limited support and not conduct enforcement on Italian soil, but tensions are rising ahead of the games. I'm like, how is this being a part of conversation with the Super Bowl, the Olympics? Like, they're trying to turn everything into an opportunity to control. And it's
well, the ICE has been around for a while, so this is nothing new in this country, right? Or the group of people, the ICE, the agency. Mm-hmm. And this is a different part of ICE. This is not the ICE that we have here in America, but it's still Homeland Security. Mm-hmm. And it's not the organization or the group that's a problem. It's the tactics and how they're doing it is a problem. Because during Obama administration and Bush administration and Biden administration, they have had, ICE enforcement come out and deport people. Mm-hmm. But it's not that. It's the way how they're doing it. And now they're killing Americans on American soil. And it's like, just people are outraged because they're coming into people's communities and you're disrupting people's days. The guys who are working, the guys who are trying to get a job at Home Depot, the guys who are on rooftops working, we've seen them go to daycare. And there's an incident where they have a 5-year-old detained right now. They're going to courthouses when people are coming out of court from their legal proceedings and detaining them. So they're doing all of these things that are not legal, first of all, and very inhumane, I would say. And this is the problem people are having. It's not the deportation. And then they're saying, we are coming after criminals, illegal criminals. Mm-hmm. But you're going after the guy who's working on the rooftop, trying to provide for his family, guy at Home Depot. Like, people are not bothered. Like,
Trump's been working on this narrative that these immigrants are criminals, and they're making our country unsafe. And first of all, we all know that there's a lot of crime that is happening in our country that's not
white collar crime.
White collar crime, but even just crime. It's not all immigrants. But he's trying to paint this picture that the immigrants here are what is causing the crime. And unless you read or know, or it's when you keep hearing things, people tend to just believe what they hear. And so you got people all worked up believing that the problem, the criminal issues and the violent crime in America is because of immigrants. They specifically targeted specific incidents. And I'm not saying that there are no incidents of crime from immigrants. There is, but they're being very crafty to create a narrative that we know is not true. We're going to play this clip and come right back.
To some of the new questions now over why ICE is heading to Italy for the Olympics. DHS says they're sending a unit as part of the security detail for the American delegation to the Games. But the mayor of Milan does not sound in any way thrilled about it.
This is a militia that kills. It's clear that they are not welcome in Milan. There's no doubt about it. Can't we just say no to Trump for once?
To be clear, this is a different unit of ICE than the arm of the agency that's leading that immigration crackdown we're seeing here in this country. This unit is called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. They have offices in more than 50 countries. They've gone abroad as part of the security detail to other Olympics before, so it's not totally out of the ordinary.
He said, can we just say no to Trump for once? Interesting.
Can we say no to Trump, not for once for all. Like, just get,
well,
get
I think
out of here.
That statement sounded like he was tired of and Trump pushing. I don't know.
Trump is about to get on his campaign trail again for the midterm elections coming up. And he's gonna try to get out there and push the narrative of all the stuff he's been doing good for America, all the money he's been saving and making this country. But the problem he's gonna have is that Americans are right now focused on what's happening with ICE, and you can't get past that. So he's going to try to get out here and talk about the jobs he's been saving and making and all this stuff and money he's been making for the country. Meanwhile, money for himself, but his pockets has been really good, billions of dollars. But he's going to try, but no, we're not hearing you. We're not hearing you.
I think it's important to acknowledge like things that do work and things that don't work. But what they do, and both sides do that, they take something that is working and then expand it, and then of course try to erase or at least downplay the things that have not worked. And I think it's up to them, hopefully, because I have seen a lot of people, even immigrant communities that were in support of Trump initially, I am assuming have changed their minds, right? Realize that, yes. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of that. He had very high numbers with Hispanics going into this. And I think that more than likely has changed. Even that Somalian community, they were very actively supporting Trump prior to this part of him getting in office this time. But you mentioned jobs, and so more bad news. More bad news when it comes to jobs.
What is this, Bad News Wednesday?
Bad News Wednesday, yeah. Amazon has announced that they are cutting 16,000 corporate jobs globally, marking the second biggest layoff wave since October 2025. And the thing that is worrisome about this, that was the ice. I'm so sorry, guys. Please have a little patience with us. I'm trying to get all our clips and stuff together, but this is a huge, layoff wave. The layoffs are going to affect departments including Amazon Web Services, retail units, Prime Video, and People Experience. CEO Andy Jassy and senior leaders say this is about reducing bureaucracy and improving efficiency, not financial distress. Artificial intelligence and automation are cited as drivers of workforce changes and productivity shifts. We all know what that means. So AI has taken some jobs, as we thought it would,
Yeah.
And then saying that this is not about financial distress. I don't know, like 16,000 corporate jobs sounds pretty corporately distressing to me.
It's very distressing. Yeah.
Affected employees will receive support, including severance and opportunity to seek internal roles. Amazon will continue hiring selectively in areas crucial to long-term strategy, even as overall headcount shrinks. I think there are a lot of people that have been concerned about AI replacing jobs. And I think that's inevitable just because of, you got to think about, with a job. I have a friend that works in a plant for Pepsi. And he showed me, like, at this point, there are some of us that work, but the robots were able to replace so many jobs. The robots do not take off. They don't get to work late. They don't have children that get sick. So they don't need insurance, So I understand from a financial and a corporate standpoint how that could increase, the overall bottom line for the numbers, right? To make sure that you're having more profit because you're having to do less. But we also have to realize these are people, 16,000 people. That's a lot of jobs. And then for them to be able to reapply for a company, I think that's unfair. It's like, why are you not just placing people in different departments, but having to, it feels very humiliating to have to reapply for a job that you were already employed at, as opposed to just reassigning people. But I think we're going to see a lot more of that. This is just the beginning. I know there's a lot of layoffs that have been happening in different, different corporations, but Amazon is one that has been growing so quickly. I think that's why it's so surprising that they are, going through this major layoff cut.
Yeah, this country has been going through changes for a while. I think this is the third big revolution change again. And I think even with Donald Trump being in office, my personal opinion is that he was placed there for this particular reason, because of disruption needed to happen in this country to change what was about to go down. And I feel like with this whole AI situation, it's another change, because it's more, as a corporation, it's more efficient to have a robot, because like Elon Musk is doing his robots, right? And he was saying that it will cost $20,000 for a robot. So if you're a corporation and your robots cost $20,000 and your robot doesn't take a lunch break or doesn't need healthcare, doesn't need vacation, or doesn't need anything, nothing, and you pay $20,000 for that robot, that person that you was paying $90,000 or six-figure income, you can get four robots for that would work around the clock. So why would I hire 10 people to do why would I hire 10 people when I can get 100 robots for those same 10 people? And so this is what's happening, but the country and the world has been changed since COVID. And there have been talks about automation happening. We see automation in taxi service. There, in California, you see all these cars driving around that are self-driving cars.
They have here to Waymo in Atlanta.
Yeah,
I have seen,
exactly.
I've seen some of them have trouble. So you'll see one trying to figure something out, and it's I don't know who gets in those cars. People are very, 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 very. They don't have fear. I'm like, they're brave, because I've seen some of them. We've seen some accidents, and so you can just see they're trying to figure it out. But that is a part. It's going to definitely change the landscape of everything that we do.
When you go to most fast food restaurants, you have to check on yourself. You check out yourself. And then the food gets made, and so the world has been changing. And let's just be honest, the world is not changing for us. It's changing for our children and our grandchildren, because of how they are raised on the tablets and on social media. When you look at commercials on TV, there's a little barcode on the screen now that tells you to scan on your phone and buy the product. So the world has been changing. Now you come into your home and you can automate. You can tell the TV turn on. You can tell every home has what's it called? Siri, not Siri. What's it called? Alexa. And when you say Alexa, it answers you back. And the kids are talking to Alexa and getting familiar with Alexa. So now everything is voice automated. And, so the world's changed. It's changing, and we have to adapt or not. And I think a lot of people are going to be out of jobs. And I think we're going to get to a place where the government's going to have to offer people universal health care and universal income. That's what's going to be the difference. So now you're not going to have a job anymore to make an income. You're going to be provided with money to live, but the job will be something else. That's coming, and that we just got to get ready for it. That's what I think. I mean,
I don't even know how to get ready for that, but I know something has changed, and I would say I am thankful that my children are adults right now.
Me too. Me too.
I would say to people, it's really important for us to encourage our young people to be involved with tech, to be familiar with that, because if they don't, they're going to be left out. They're going to be on the other side of progress, right? And so I think when I see there's a lot of organizations that work to make sure that minority and urban communities are exposed to technology, and I'm not talking about just giving them a phone so they can go to YouTube and watch things they probably don't need to be watching. I'm talking about actually teaching them how to create, because if your children are not locked in, and if they are not being taught this, they are really going to be left behind. It's going to be a huge gap. I think the middle class is being erased, and I think a big part of that is going to be, if you know how to operate with AI, if you're familiar, if you understand how to program, you've got to be able to stay abreast of what is current, because if not, you're going to be in a really bad place. We have people that are, my son is working on his PhD, but there's PhD candidates that can't find jobs and are doing jobs that are not, that are far beneath with the minimum wage they thought they'd be making. But if you're not doing something in tech, I don't know, or a field that is going to be moving forward, and they need to be introduced to it early. Just because I know for myself, I am a little bit, I have like anxiety, with tech in certain areas, because I was a writer. I would just write, I write with a pen on a paper, and I'm even having to push myself. But for young people, if you don't insist they get into classes and learn, they are going to be left behind.
I want to add one thing to that. Besides tech, I think the other side to that, the other polarized side to that is become an electrician, become a plumber, because those are the things that tech can't do. Mm-hmm. Plumbers make good money. Electricians make great money. Both those fields make anything with your hands that are like making something or fixing something. Those are the jobs that we should push our kids towards, is like, learn a trade, or learn tech. Yeah.
I did see a article about that a while ago. They were saying that the new millionaire is going to be a trade business. So to those, like you said, like HVAC, HVAC, plumbing, those type of disciplines that for a long time people look down as a blue collar job, but that is going to be one of the spaces that is secure from, jobs being taken away. And if they can learn how to manage that and grow that business, you own several, you have an HVAC company, you have several people working for you, learning the trade. It's definitely changing the face of what people think of when it comes to affluence and wealth, because you want to be in something that people are going to have. I also think careers in the healthcare industry are always going to be, at a certain point, there's always going to be a need for that. But I think you have to. HVAC software instructor. Tracy Cherie is an HVAC software instructor. So your job is secure.
Oh, wow.
Her job is absolutely secure. That is, you are hitting it out of the park on both sides. But I think it's really important for us to encourage young people, our young children, and to introduce them to that, find programs for them. They need an edge, and it needs to be tech-based.
Wow, Tracy, that's awesome.
So at this point, I'm sure we're all wondering, what can we do? What can we do as an individual?
Yes, tell us.
What can we do as a community? There is, just small things make a big difference. And Friday, January 30th, this Friday, in fact, There is a national shutdown. People are being encouraged to keep the children from school, not to go to work, as we come together as a country and stand in opposition to some of the things that have been happening, that we've all seen happening. No work, no school, no shopping, no funding ICE. This is the anti-ICE national shutdown protest scheduled for this Friday. And, you know, I want to say I'm glad that they are sharing this now, because we talked about, there was a protest last week, and I remember seeing the No Kings Day protest, but I wasn't, you know, aware of that. I do think that this is a example of civil disobedience. Is something that we can do. I think important, the kids in the school, you know, that could be difficult sometimes, but I do think shopping is really, really important. Like, it's important for us to make sure, because that economics area is where things change. When the money makes a difference. That's the most powerful thing that we have. And we know that our community, we know what our dollar does, you know? So I think this is something that I'm committed to doing, you know, on Friday. And I would encourage as many of us as possible, even if it's just, it may not feel big, but it's your way of being able to contribute and show that you're not in support of, you know, of the things that, the way we see our country, the path that our country is on.
Yeah, we can only try to make change as much as we can in our community. A lot of national news hit us different than community news, and a lot of national news overpowers and overshadows what's going on in the community. And I tell people a lot of times, look at your councilman, look at your school board principal, look at your local senate before you look at the national, because those are the ones that affect your community. And a lot of times we focus on the president, we focus on the congressperson, and we don't think about the person picking up our trash, or the guy fixing the roads, or we don't think about, you know, the councilman who's going to put the new prison in our neighborhood. Or so these are things we need to look at more than we need to look at the national level. Mm-hmm. But it's important to support, even if you feel like picking up the phone and calling your congressperson and saying, hey, I'm not happy with what's going on, and let my voice be heard. You use your voice as much as you can, and you share the knowledge you have with those around you, and that's what matters the most. Mm-hmm. It might not feel like a lot, but sometimes that's all you can do.
No, I think it is. Yeah. I think you feel better when you're doing something, right? And you know, a lot of small things is what makes change. You know, more so than big things. This is being put on by organizers of a growing anti-ICE movement. And like I said, a day of no work, no school, no shopping, student groups. And the thing I love about our young people, you know, we give them a hard time, but young people are the loudest voices. They are full of fire. And student groups are urging nationwide school walkout on the same date to amplify this protest. The actions, of course, are tied to widespread protests across the U.S. and other controversial federal enforcement actions. Supporters aim to show broad public opposition to ICE's methods, from local marches to coordinated strike-style actions. I would suggest, you know, find out what's happening in your area. Find out if there are marches, if there are protests, or just, you know, peaceful protests happening. I also would encourage everyone to be safe. You know, be safe, be as safe as possible. Find out where things are happening, and then, you know, just be as safe as possible, because we've seen sometimes these peaceful things be turned into something else. But we're going to be here on Friday, so we will talk a little bit more about that then. But I hope to see as many people out. Sometimes it feels like if you're not doing anything, it can be very frustrating. So I think just contributing in your own way would definitely make most of us feel better, because we don't feel like we're just being stagnant. We're actually out there trying to make a change.
Thank you for everyone who's been on the chat too. Tracy and Tammy were really talking to us, and we appreciate it, and they're sharing your comments and giving us some feedback and also input. We love that. We love it a lot, and we appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, and Tracy, that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. that is, and it's good to see. Like that was encouraging for me to see that you're there taking care, handling that. And I think more of us are realizing that tech. I wish I was more. I don't have a tech brain, but I've got to get better at it.
Got to contribute what you can. I mean, never too late to go back and learn something. It's a lot. Trust me. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, we appreciate everybody that's been tapping in with us. And if you are watching the replay, make sure to leave your comment on this broadcast. You can always visit lennoxandparker.com for a little bit more context to today's conversations. And Victor and I will be back on Friday, 9 a.m. on the West Coast.
And 12 p.m. on the East Coast.
Absolutely.
And we have some good news next time, hopefully.
Hopefully, or at least more information.
Yeah. More information, yeah.
At least more information about this. We'll see you on Friday, 9 and 12. All right. You guys be safe. We'll see you soon.
Peace out.
It's 12 noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West.
And this is Reprint.
This isn't breaking headlines. This is a second look with context added for perspective.
This is Reprint, edited after the headlines.